Welcome to Altar of the Brew. Thanks for joining us tonight. Welcome to Altar of the Brew. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh goodness.
Welcome to Altar of the Brew. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh goodness.
Welcome to Altar of the Brew. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh goodness.
Oh, I think we fixed it.
Alrighty, let's check. Still learning how to stream here. Still working it out. Seems better. Can't hear us anymore, so that's a good thing. Alrighty, tonight we're going to be doing the deck for Auntie Blyte, Bad Influence. She's a 2/2 legendary creature, Devil Advisor, for 2 and a red. She's flying. Says whenever a source you control deals damage to you, put that many 1/1 counters on Auntie. And then for 1 and a red, you can tap her, remove X 1/1 counters from her, and she deals X damage to any target. She starts as a 2/2. This is a fun-looking commander to brew.
So I think the main path that Rich and I talked about for this was kind of going down the typical red Punisher style.
I love Punisher.
So we're making everybody unhappy, and we're going to deal a lot of damage in a lot of directions. We're going to try and end the game really quickly by just making her big, killing everything else, bringing life totals down fast, and try and swoop in for the victory.
Yeah, we'll probably keep the board fairly clear of at least mostly non-flyers and dealing lots of damage to everyone, and ourselves included.
Right, and with the fact that we get cracked back in any way, it just makes her bigger, and she comes swinging back again. So I think we're going to need to kind of protect her so that she doesn't eat as much removal.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to make her protected. We're going to make her threatening.
I was thinking gaining some life to mitigate the global effects of damage. This way we can kind of break parity on that.
Yeah, I think Life Link is the biggest friend you could possibly have in this deck. I think we got a new one too. We just got a new Life Link equipment.
We did, yeah.
So I saw that. I checked that one up. I think put that one in there.
2 to cast, 4 to equip, and does something else.
Sure.
Yeah, sweet.
Sure. Does something. So rather than waste time as much on some of the boring stuff that we had to do last time around, we kind of preloaded up our Mox field here with kind of where Rich and I usually start when it comes to a red deck for sure. Definitely, we got a bunch of mountains, we got a whole bunch of rocks. Rich and I are big on the 2 mana rocks that enter untapped.
Yeah, I don't really play tapped rocks anymore because there's just so many untapped 2 mana rocks, and in a monocolor deck the fixing is way less important, so it just seems important to just get out there as quick as you can, be able to cast your likely X spells that we're going to be putting in here for loads of mana, and it's going to be a blast, literally.
So we got 10 rocks, we got 36 lands, we may go up and down on that as we get closer to the end. We threw in Chaos Warp, most generic removal in red you're going to have. Jessica's Will's already in there because, it's bonkers, it's mana, it's everything, it's cards, it's everything you want.
It does all the jobs.
It does everything. So we started off there. So that's a quick review of where we're beginning. Do you want to start with the lifelink stuff?
Yeah. I think gaining life would be a good way to get going, or the damage. Either's fine. All
right, let's start with the lifelink because we we're saying how much that is a key factor in the deck in order to survive our own shenanigans. So you want to go into the search, or you want to start with the ones we already know, or you want to go?
I'm totally cool starting the ones I know.
Yeah, let's fire some off. And
makes me feel like I'm good at this. And
all right.
Just so everybody knows, these mountains are just kind of placeholders. As we discover more lands we want to put in, the numbers will likely diminish on those.
Right, any utility, things like that. But you guys don't want to sit here while we click our way through adding a whole bunch of mountains.
Yeah.
So Loxodon Warhammer.
Yeah, I love Loxodon Warhammer. Bit of expensive equipment. Oh, by the way, this is more of a casual, powerful deck as opposed to something like last week where we built a very powerful deck for CDH style.
All right, so Loxodon Warhammer. I think the best one that's out there now is the Shadow Spear.
Yeah, it's got to be Shadow Spear.
Shadow Spear is just.
Actually, have a couple of spicy ones here that I don't know if Steve knows too well, but there's a card I love called Dragon's Claw.
Ooh.
This is back from the old competitive days of Magic. Darn, I did my usual thing here, but we'll go ahead and add it. when it comes up. So Dragon's Claw is a 2-mana artifact that says whenever a player casts a red spell, you may gain a life.
Sure.
So every spell basically now has +1 life tacked onto it. And there's also a card called Staff of the Sun. Is that Sun Magus? Staff of the. I want to call it Sun Magus. Yeah, Sun Magus. Here it is. And this one is the wrong
Sun
one.
Is the white one.
Is the white one. Sorry about that, everybody. What do you think?
Staff of
Flame Magus, maybe?
Maybe Flame.
The Staff of Flame Magus is a 3-mana
There you
artifact.
go.
Whenever you cast a red spell or a mountain enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life.
All right.
So that's really going to go well with some of our Punisher effects, because I want to play Anka Mishra so badly in a deck, and I think this is the one for it.
Okay.
So Ankh is definitely a cool, powerful card. I know it's not in the lifelink area, but we're talking about it. Might as well throw it in, right?
All right. You're there.
Does any? Let's see here. Do you know what this one does?
Yeah, that's the land enters take 2.
Yeah, that might spell.
Ankh is a very
KH.
oddly spelled word.
There
it is.
Ankh of Mishra. So this is a 2-mana artifact that says whenever a land is battlefield under player's control, they take 2.
There you go.
They give us the old one too here. Each time a player puts a land into play, it deals 2 damage to that player.
I mean,
so when they go to fetch, they're basically taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage for fetch lands. Pretty powerful.
Okay.
And then when we play a mountain, we get to deal 2, add 2 counters to Auntie. It's gonna be sweet. This might even be a good reason to put fetches in ours, if we wanted to.
Okay. That's worth considering. What's other lifelink that we wanted was
So we put Warhammer in, Shadow Spear.
what's the other incredibly obvious one that we're missing here?
I don't know, I feel silly all of a sudden not remembering it. Let's go ahead and pull up the advanced search here on Scryfall. We'll go Red Commander.
I'm totally blanking.
And then text.
Oh, did you go colorless?
I just searched Red
Oh,
Commander.
Basilisk Collar.
Oh, Basilisk Collar, yes, for sure. And probably Batterskull, to be honest with you. That was there.
The equip is so high on it, though.
Yeah, but it's a 4/4 on its own. So you can just play it as a 5-mana 4/4 with lifelink and vigilance.
But it's 10 if you do it otherwise.
Over 2 turns. But I feel you there. Batterbone's similar. These are both. This is at least 2 to place, 5 to equip. But vigilance and lifelink makes this creature pretty much unstoppable. Being vigilant means that you don't have to worry about the attack back.
What was the
damage you take from your opponents doesn't trigger Auntie, so you'll get really hurt a lot. So lifelink is going to be really important.
So you thinking about that Batterbone? Is that the one?
Maybe a Batterbone. I mean, it's a 2-mana 1/1 vigilance lifelink creature when it first plays, basically, and then you can equip for 5. So I don't know if there's any good ways to cheat out the equipment's on. Maybe that's something we can explore.
Hammer of Nazan is the big one that I could think of. Oh, this is the other one that is the new one we were talking about.
Yeah.
Is this Resurrection Orb. So there is a feature here right inside that you should be able to copy the name, I believe, from here, right off the bat. There's a feature somewhere in here. I have done that before.
All right. Oh, you're talking like a link feature there.
Yeah, there's I think it's copy pastable text right there.
Let's try that.
Nope.
Oh,
that's not
okay.
what you want. That's
this
the
is
whole thing.
Actual text of the card.
Copy card name. There's like a copy.
We'll go with. I'll work on learning this a little bit more, but definitely, just go ahead and paste it in here tonight. Resurrection Orb. Get this new one in here. And while we're basically just playing it for the lifelink, I mean, as whenever a crypt creature dies, return that card to the battlefield under its own control, begin next end step. Which we lose the counters, but it's really sweet because the equipment stays out there, and we'll get the creature back to put more counters on. And with Auntie, potentially dying, you think that Ozolith might fit in this deck? Like, she also has an ability where you remove counters from her, but that doesn't matter.
It doesn't trigger it.
Yeah,
it's only if she dies, which isn't as good. I mean, how many times are we flinging Auntie is the question. Because for me, it comes down to like, are we playing a bunch of haste effects, and we're trying to like fling her, recast her, and smash again? Because that's that's the play pattern, then the Uzalith gets way better. If the play pattern is we're looking to play her as a finisher, and we like get her out there and build her up and keep pressuring for like, you know, here's a 5 attack, here's a 10 attack, here's a 20 attack, you're dead, right? To like different directions, or are we trying to be like the whole table's at nothing, bang bang bang?
I think that like it's not likely we'll be doing commander damage level attacks with her in a single turn. So the haste seems less relevant to me. Whereas, like, you know, earthquake type effects, which are likely going to be in this deck, and punish type effects means everybody's life total is going to be low. So as long as her power is high and we can attack with her, then we'll be probably finishing people off fairly quickly, a couple turns usually.
So if we're not playing her back out, I guess I would say definitely put the Uzalith in the considering list at a minimum.
Yeah, you don't know if we might move into like more of a sacrifice, concept.
Right.
But at least
don't get me wrong. I think Fling and Thud and Kazul's Fury are definitely going in this deck.
So just snap playing him?
Yeah. I mean, Fling for sure.
I mean, Kazul's Fury to me is so free. It's ridiculous.
We are also big MDFC fans in this world.
I love cards that are basically free to play. And so it's pretty
Kazul might be a hard one for me to spell. You might have to go.
2 U's in Kazul.
Tool. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So these are just sweet. Like, Auntie's huge. I hit you for a bunch, then throw out you're dead. Shout out to our buddy Steve over at the portal, who has killed more players like that than anybody I've known. Let's see here. All right, what else we got? As far as like life linking stuff, though, I know we wanted to make sure we try to gain life. Because, like, I mean, I think Wormcoil and Scavenge Brawler are just awesome in this deck because they don't really die easily to our, like,
smaller wrath effects.
Yeah. So maybe those. I mean, this is.
I think Scavenger Brawler is a really cool card.
Yeah, it's so neat. Is it scavenged or scavenger?
Scavenged. Oh, doesn't matter. It's already narrow enough.
Right, and then I think like this is actually one of the few decks that Wormcoil seems like it's absolutely awesome in. Especially like on defense when you first cast it, because we're going to be doing a lot of damage to ourselves on teams. And I don't know how you feel about it, but this is one of my all-time favorite Magic cards, and it fits perfectly in this deck.
A little Flame Rift action.
Flame Rift. I mean,
4 to everybody.
4 to everyone. It's fair. It's fun. It's 2 mana. This is almost like a burn deck because you can just burn yourself. Also, and I know no one's mentioned it yet, but. I just want to say Heartless Hidetsugu is probably the number 1 card for this deck, right?
Yeah.
So if anybody doesn't know Heartless Hidetsugu, 5 mana, 4/3, 3 and 2 red, legendary ogre shaman. Tap and it deals damage equal to its power. Excuse me on that. Deals damage to each player equal to half that player's life total, rounded down. So if everyone's still at 40 and you activate this thing, everyone's losing 20 life. Auntie's at 22, and you kill somebody with her. So that's pretty funny.
Another thought towards the haste being somewhat relevant.
True, yeah.
Right. So if we got like a completely free-to-play haste effect, we might want to think about it.
Yeah, probably not playing the enchantments, but I'll throw them in the considering board just because it might be a lane that somebody else wants to take when they see the deck. Move to considering. So Hammer Perforos is a fantastic one for that, and I really like Fervor, even though it's kind of an expensive mana cost for just giving everything haste. It's 650. Wow, it's skyrocketed. Where's the enchantments? So Fervor, really sweet. Good deal.
Some people might want to lean towards some of the Faithless Looting effects and then play Anger. Some people like to dig for specific cards, so that could be another strategy if you wanted to do that, trying to give yourself haste. I'm not as big of a fan of hey, let's cast Anger and then hope it dies. It's not really my style.
But I think that if you're going to go the Fling, Kazul's Fury, Thud, haste route with the considering board here, and the Ozolith, and then Anger gets much more appealing because you can just you probably play Goblin Bombardment with those two and be able to throw it at people and stuff like that.
Sure.
I'm real excited to get to the one Protector a little bit here. We're thinking Greaves.
Yeah, some boots, some
Breeze.
breathes. Those I think are like reasonable haste effects that I would definitely play.
Yeah, and I think that like the upside of I don't know what I did there. Upside of like the protection they give is really really relevant. I bet bucks for lane. Wow, these cards are skyrocketing, man. And
Oh, somehow you're not in the window anymore.
yeah, Greaves and Boots. I mean, we're a pretty heavy artifact counter here. It's one of the reasons that we started with this Buried Ruin as part of our lands too, because it's just important to get back key cards like stat. I have a feeling this card's going to gain a lot of life, just incidentally, just sweet. Let's see
So
here.
if you're playing Ankh of Mishra, is Zozu going in here?
So I thought Zozu might fit in here, but if we're talking like we want to cast like Earthquakes and Falters and
he's not
Angers,
that good then.
he's probably not that good. We'll maybe get a couple triggers off him. Definitely worth putting in the considering board if people don't like doing that side though. You know. And Zozu is basically just Ankh of Mishra on a 2/2 legendary goblin. Another fun Punisher card that I really enjoy. I mean, we've said the card 100 times. Might as well just put it in here, right?
Yeah, Earthquake.
Earthquake's this is pretty spectacular.
So is Earthquake is a sorcery, right?
It is a sorcery, yeah. XX red, or red XX. Excuse me.
What did you get, the Spanish version?
Yes, apparently. Oh no, this looks French. Tremblement de terre. Yeah.
How about we switch that printing?
Let's change that printing over so it's something that's a little easier for most people to understand that speak English here. If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna go back to my roots here. Just get a little revised action going on this bad boy. Come on.
Oh, you got to dig deeper.
See, that's how long ago it was. There it is. Yeah. Same art for 100 years.
And I'm a big fan of Ron Spencer's artwork, so I went with the fault line when I was checking things out because 2 words. Fault line is two words in this situation. This is the instant speed Earthquake with killer Ron Spencer art.
Yeah, right here.
It just adds another red pip to the mana cost.
There's some other ones too, like Rolling Earthquake or Roiling Earthquake.
But that's everything without horsemanship, isn't it?
Yeah. But I believe that Auntie's trigger will let us survive her when we do stuff like that. So if we deal 10 damage to everything, including ourselves, she should be at 12/12 before everything's done, right?
But once the damage is marked on her, then her trigger goes on the stack. So wouldn't she die before her trigger resolves to state-based actions?
I don't know. It's interesting to find out, though.
I would have assumed so. That's why we were talking about...
Where's the Rolling Earthquake? I just put it. There it is. Extend each creature without horsemanship. Yeah, I guess that probably wouldn't work. Because she would die before the trigger resolves.
Right, because she'd be dead.
All right. We'll keep rolling on that assumption there. We'll take this one out of here. This one isn't going to work for us.
Which was why I said the all-star of this deck is Pyrohemia.
Yes, I forgot all about Pyrohemia, which is absolutely hilarious. And
Because Pyrohemia's damage is however much red you have,
yeah, so
she gonna get big.
this is Pyrohemia here, 2 red enchantment. You have each beginning of the end step, If no creatures on the battlefield, you sacrifice it. But you can pay red to ding everything. This is the red Pestilence, is what it is. And
damage. Pestilence is life loss, right?
I don't know. Because it kills creatures. Because that's the downside of the cards is that they kill creatures.
Sure.
Yeah. But still bonkers in this deck. Like, it lets you just end step before your turn. Use up your mana. So the question is, how deep do we want to punish? Because I love Punisher cards.
Hit me with some ideas, man. What you got?
So there's the Citadel of Pain. Fantastically named card, by the way. Not sure if we want people to have less interaction mana available. But Citadel of Pain here says at the end of each player's turn, it deals X damage to them, where X is the number of untapped lands they control. So, makes it very hard to interact with you on your turn without taking a bunch of damage.
Didn't I played that? So my neighbor came back to Magic after a very long time. During COVID, we were all hanging out here in the garage playing some Magic, and I handed him my entire binder of legendaries. Said, pick something, we'll brew it up for you, and he immediately grabs Zozu the Punisher. Citadel of Pain was certainly in that deck, and there was a second half to that equation. I'm trying to remember because I believe it was.
There's one that taps all your lands each turn.
Yeah, the one that if you have a land and you tap it, it taps all of them. Was that the one we played?
I don't recall.
No, because you know what, that doesn't help that. But it kind of made it like you are all or nothing.
Yeah, you're like either way, you're just taking damage.
Yeah.
Which lends me to my next one of all the people that want to play all the fancy or expensive lands. This is one of my favorite standard cards ever printed. It was called Burning Earth. It's a 4-mana, 3 red enchantment. It says whenever a player taps a non-basic land for mana, it dings them.
Sounds great.
Which is good for us too with the Auntie, because we can put a few. We're probably gonna have a few non-basics. So basically, they have a secondary line that says add mana and ding yourself. So, seemed like it'd be pretty sweet. And that also goes with Mana Barbs. I'm not sure if that's how Punisher you want to get.
Let's do it, man. I'm in.
Mana Barbs is very old. It almost is like the revised red that I used to play. It's very powerful. This is like original alpha beta card. Mana Barb's been around a long time. Same costed enchantment. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, it just dings them, which is going to make it fun and fast. This is going to be a quick deck, I think. I think it's going to be a really quick deck, especially when we hit this Ruby Medallion and just get these Punisher effects out very early.
All the discount.
Ramp them out. Let's see, any other good Punishers you can think of in mono red? Or artifacts that you want to play? Why don't you drive for a second and then look up? I had a couple listed just in case we needed some ideas.
I pulled some ideas aside as well for myself here. I think I was big on giving her big punchies. So I was also in on Lizard Blades. I don't know how you feel about Lizard Blades.
This is the double strike one?
Yeah, so giving her double strike.
All right.
For 4 mana.
The only downside I could see to this is that we have to equip it basically the turn we play it. Otherwise, all of our Falter and Earthquake effects aren't going to work.
Obviously, we don't want to kill our own Lizard Blades.
But it is a pretty sweet card. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, we're not going to be attacking with too many creatures at a time, I don't think.
No, it's really just for her.
So I was just trying to consider versus...
Let's put in the considering then.
Yeah, well, what's the 6-mana one that's been... Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, see, I knew you'd bite.
Yeah, that's a real good one.
I knew you'd bite on an old favorite here. Price of Progress.
This is a really good one. Oh, there's another...
Price of Progress, 1 and a red, deals damage equal to twice the number of non-basic lands that player controls. So... Yep, that'll do it. And then...
What's that, 3 non-basic lands? Oh, you take 6.
That was the other... There was 2 more kind of fling thud variants that I consider... I like Soul's Fire.
That's pretty sweet. Hey. Treasonous Ogre. John. I mean it doesn't work with the commander because it's life loss versus damage. But, I mean, that's a lot of free mana. That's 13 free mana a game when you start. I'm just saying.
Sounds like fun.
Sounds like my jam.
So, yeah, full Soul's Fire, 2 and a red, instant speed. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to any target. If we're just making Auntie huge, or just double her up. Do it to yourself. Doesn't say opponent.
That's true, yeah. You could really... just use it as a combat trick and kill somebody.
Right. Somebody doesn't see it coming. Yeah. Just
I'll deal me 9 and you're dead.
Sounds like a good plan.
Or 10.
So you want to throw the Treasonous Ogre in here?
I don't know. We're going to be hurting ourselves quite a bit. I think it's going to have really diminishing values as the game moves forward.
Well, considering board it.
It is one of my favorite red cards ever printed, but I think the problem is it just dies so easily to our earthquakes and stuff.
we also both had on our lists was a Commander's Plate.
Yeah, Commander's Plate is a really powerful card in a monocolor deck.
So 1 to play, 3 to equip to your commander, gets +3/+3, and protection every color that's not your commander's color identity. So, I mean, damage-based removal's not going to really smack her.
No.
Short of a Blasphemous Act maybe taking her out, she's probably pretty safe.
Yeah, I mean, even if she dies, like she's got a very low cost initially at 3 mana, so I think it's totally sweet. Here's another X spell that I really enjoyed: Comet Storm.
Sure.
Because you could basically use this as a cleanup for everything that you need to, and then just pay 1 more mana to deal yourself a bunch of damage.
I'm in on Comet Storm.
Comet Storm is an awesome card, and it's like a commander staple in all those precons. Everybody's got a copy of it somewhere. Let's see. I had Fault Line 2.
How about a Chandra's Ignition?
Oh yeah, 100%. That card's awesome.
So Chandra's Ignition, 3 red, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each other creature and each opponent.
Doesn't hurt us, but it definitely just wraths their entire board, basically.
I mean that can just be the end of the game, right? That's the idea
it's
there.
Kind of like a finisher. I like this card called Molten Disaster. I don't know what you think about this.
Oh, I think I remember this one from. I think this was in Zozu.
This
too.
is another Earthquake, but it's got split second.
That's the one.
It's a sorcery with split second, which is kind of weird, but I dig it. Let's see here, right here.
Molten Disaster. Sorcery with split second.
Yeah, so it's got red X for sorcery that has kicker of a red. If you kick it, it has split second, which if you're playing against people that have mana up that they're playing counter spells, it's perfect. But just deals X damage to each creature without flying in each player, so kind of Wheel of Misfortune work.
Is it damage?
Is it damage or life? Let's take a look here. Thanks, John, for chiming in. Appreciate it.
Damage!
Yes, that totally works.
Yeah, I think that makes sense then.
Did you put it in?
Oh yeah,
all right,
it's in.
Sweet deal. Where was it? Right here. Good call, bud. That's awesome. Let's see here.
I think. I know we were talking about clearing the floor of kind of the small creatures. Are we a Parasitic Pillaring right now?
Maybe. I don't know. I like anything that deals damage to everybody when they do stuff. And this says whenever a player plays a spell, converted mana cost 3 or less, it hits them for 2. It shocks them. So basically, it punishes your opponents, but it also lets you kind of regulate. The only problem with this card is you can get to some really negative, stalled out game states where nobody can cast any spells, which is also kind of fun. I don't know. Even if we move to considering, I still think it belongs in the.
Sure.
It belongs in the.
Go back to deck list up there.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, it's a neat card.
Do we? I know you wanted to clear the board of little creatures, but I do like this little elemental lizard named Ketis.
This elemental lizard. I mean, even if you're gonna clear it the next turn, you could basically kill multiple players with it the turn you cast it. So, to me, I can treat it like a burn spell, where I'm like,
okay,
if we're not gonna Earthquake this turn or next turn, like Auntie's getting in. She's a flyer. There's almost always somebody to hit with a flyer, and this lets you just kind of like murder someone out of nowhere.
So Ketis is from Commander Legends. He's a partner commander. 1 in a red. Whenever a commander you control deals damage, combat damage specifically to an opponent, deals that much damage to each other opponent. So it doesn't work with her ability to just, get everybody with her burn side of her activated ability, but it will do the combat trick you want it to do.
It's pretty sweet.
So, did you have in your mindset any of the damage doubling, tripling stuff? Are we Dictator of the Twin Gods? Are we Fiery Emancipation?
So one of the things I didn't think about those. I thought about them. I didn't really like them as cards in the deck because their mana costs are generally very high, which means you're not casting a burn that turn. You're going to cast the thing that doubles or triples the damage. But also those things can really punish you because we are hitting ourselves a lot.
Right.
So if I take my 2 damage to cast a spell, now it's 6 damage or 4 or 6 damage. It might be too much for us to
Okay.
If you never played Punisher before, everybody kind of gangs up on the Punisher deck because they want to get him off the field as fast as possible. So,
What about a one-sided version?
I love a one-sided version.
So what about Chandra's Incinerator?
There it is. Just took a minute. Chandra's Incinerator.
Do you know this card?
I know this card. It's I think the mana cost gets lower with damage that's been dealt.
Yep.
So
to your opponents.
5 in a red for a 6/6 Trampler, Elemental. It costs X less to cast, where X is the total amount of non-combat damage dealt to your opponents this turn. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target creature or planeswalker that player controls. This card is awesome in this deck.
All right. I thought you'd like that
Yeah,
one.
I am. I don't know if it actually put it in when I did it.
No, you got it in there.
not
No,
that
we're in
one.
there.
The one that I wanted to put in the
Oh, you were looking at Royal...
Roiling Vortex. So
Yes.
you want to talk about punishing your opponents? This is the one that gets them, I think. So Roiling Vortex. 1 in a red enchantment. Beginning of each player's upkeep, it just hits them for 1. And it says, whenever a player casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, it deals 5 damage to that player. So, no more forces, no more free spells. 0 mana artifacts will deal 5 damage to you. If you also have a cost reducer out, I think it does the same thing because you didn't pay mana for it.
That's correct.
It has a 1 red activation that all your opponents can't gain life this turn. So,
just in case.
Just in case
somebody sneaks something in there.
In case somebody's like, ooh, let me play a Thragtusk. You're like, nah, no you don't. And the cool thing about it is you can always wait till the life gain triggers on the stack or whatever it is. That Heliod player is going to be super mad. It doesn't really work for them.
So some of the other stuff that I thought was kind of cute in here was maybe some stuff like Brash Taunter or Stuffy Doll.
Brash Taunter and Stuffy Doll. I mean, we're dealing lots of damage to them, and then they just get dealt. They get to deal damage to our friends who are playing at the table.
Because if we're worried about the whole wrathing effect, wrathing our own creatures, because someone lays like, which we haven't included anything yet. We're getting close. We're at 83 cards, but we talked about like some of the Pyroclasm, Anger of the God type effects.
Oh yeah.
So doesn't get swept up in those.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, it's definitely. I like Brash Taunter a little better because Stuffy Doll requires you to pick a player when it enters. I think.
Right.
But I mean that doesn't really matter. They're both 5 or 6. This one's 5 mana, and then the Stuffy Doll is 5 mana as well. So, but basically the same thing. To a point, they kind of fill a similar role, and it's nice to also have indestructible creatures you can just block with that do something.
Right, because obviously the clackback for this strategy is aggressive.
Yeah, you'll see all the spells pointed at you and all the removal and all the anger. This is definitely one to talk about with your friends before you play and just say, this is a very Punisher strategy. It's going to be hard. It's like a puzzle to figure out. It's definitely something I truly enjoy. What do you think about this one?
Smoke?
This is a card called Smoke. It's another ancient red card that I love.
Where did I play Smoke? I played Smoke before.
So Smoke is a red enchantment. Says no player may untap more than 1 creature during their untap phase. And oh look, we have so very few creatures here. This one has
some
vigilance.
Of them we don't even care about tapping.
Yeah. So it seemed like it'd be really neat that we just keep just untap bad or Auntie Blyte here and just be able to just keep going on people.
I love it. I want it in there. I think the other card I mentioned to you, which probably doesn't play into this deck, but is a similar vein, we probably want to mention and put in the considering board, was Mudslide. It's another great ancient enchantment.
Yeah, these are awesome cards. It's the best part of this deck is all the old cards.
So I'm a big fan of this deck. I played it in a flying demon tribal deck that I built, which is 2 in a red for an enchantment that says creatures without flying do not untap during their controller's untap phase. At the beginning or of his or her upkeep, each player may pay 2 per creature to untap that creature. So it just makes it so that people who had a big swing or have want to maintain their board state, want to keep up blockers, it just punishes them. It's a great Punisher card. Do you think it deserves a spot in here? I think Smoke's better. Smoke is cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, Smoke
it's way more of a Punisher card than this is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with Mudslide. I actually think it's quite good. If there's any, the strategies that'd be the hardest for us to deal with are, well, I mean, we got Parahemia for tokens, but I don't know. Like the problem with both Smoke and Mudslide is neither of them play well with all of these like earthquake type effects that we're going to be playing, because the board's going to be fairly clear of all the dinky little stuff. So, like, it's not a problem for me to pay 2 mana to untap my 8/8. Because it's such a powerful thing to do, but it does tax them a little bit. You know, this is almost better in that situation like I said, than Smoke is.
I think it's more of a considering card than I think I wanted in this version of the deck.
Yeah.
But there's probably another version of this deck where you just play flyers.
Yeah.
And you just focus in on the earthquakes that don't care about your flyers. So you just be like, oh, I'm gonna play some dragons that just deal massive damage on top of this, right? You know, you play your all the big red dragons, Dracosess.
I love dragons.
So you're just coming in and you're blowing everything up, and you're like, I don't care about the Mudslide. I don't care about that. So
yeah. I think with the same vein of moving Mudslide to the board, I'll move Smoke to the considering board as well.
I mean, I think Smoke's a way stronger card. It's cheaper costed.
Above the table.
I think it's cheaper costed.
It is.
I like it more.
It does have a little bit of non-bow aspect with the fact that like you're probably gonna want to attack with your 6/6 Trampler or your 6/6 Death Touch Lifelink or activate your Heartless Hitsugu or activate Brash Taunter or Stuffy Doll.
All right.
So it does slow that down a little bit. I mean, it might slow them down a lot more though. Like that's really the ebb and flow of deciding something like this is which pathway do you want to take. And I think that if we're looking for cards towards the end that maybe will help us swing the matches, these might be good ads.
Okay.
So,
I found another fun card I wanted to bring up was this one. I don't know if it's going to make the cut. It's called Coal Hauler Swine.
Let's go ahead and take
this is one I had never seen before. Did some research, found this one. We got a 6 mana 4/4 Boar Beast. It's got coal on its back that it's hauling.
It is indeed a Coal Hauler Swine.
So whenever it is dealt damage, deals that much damage to each player. So you could just point all of your... Because isn't our commander say any target?
It does, but then you can just...
So you could... if you just were like, I don't know, 2 life points, 1 life point above everyone else, just blow it all at the swine and kill the table.
Does seem like a fun...
it's fun. I don't think it's as good. Maybe it just goes in the considering board because it's too much fun. It's pretty fun.
I think if we're looking for 100th, I'd love to play that card because it's really funny. I also just in a way to try to like edge people out by everyone's gonna be taking a lot of damage with decks like this. I like cards like Sun Droplet and stuff like that. Things that just like they gain incremental life. Sun Droplet says whenever you take damage, for every damage you take, put a counter on it. I'm going to get it up here for you. Whenever you're dealt damage, you may put a charge counter on it. That many charge counters on it. And it's the beginning of each upkeep, so everybody's turn. You can remove a charge counter if you do gain a life. So basically every cycle of turns, you're gaining 4 life on it because you're likely going to always have it covered with charge counters.
Sure.
This is definitely one of those cards that is like a kill on sight for many decks that are life gain decks. We're not going to be a life gain deck, so it might stick around a lot longer.
Yes, Platinum Imperium would work, Perry. You could keep your life stuck.
Is it still count as damage dealt to us if our life total doesn't change?
Yep.
Pretty cool. Do we want to play? I mean, Platinum Imperium is what, like 7 or 8 mana, right?
Yeah, I mean it's splashy. I think it probably goes considering board.
Let's give it a shot though. Let's take a look at it. There you are, friend. Your life total can't change. You can't gain or lose. You can't pay any amount of life except 0. Yeah, so
would work.
You still take the damage. Your life total doesn't change.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely worth leaving in there. Thanks, John. That's a great one. Boom, boom. Yeah.
So I found another one that's kind of like our Chandra's Incinerator. Is this card Fiendish Duo? It was in like a game night set or something like that.
It's kind of an oddball. Let's take a look at it here.
I remember finding it was like
oh look, it's in a whole other language.
It's in Japanese foil promo version.
Well, let's see if we can switch to printing. Game Night 2019.
There you go.
Only in foil, it looks like.
Yep, and $28 whopping. Holy cow!
This is
this one might be a stretch here.
6
But-
mana again, 5/5 first striker. The source would deal damage to an opponent. It deals that double that damage to that player instead. Devil first. 5/5 first strike is enormous.
Yeah.
Why isn't this a goblin? Why is it gonna be a devil? Love goblins. Yeah, that's a sweet card.
I mean,
We're getting really heavy in the 6s, I think, and the 8s and stuff like that. We're not ramping that hard, but
yeah. I mean, it was just a fun effect. We can considering board it. That's fine because we want to. I think the only thing we really haven't made any room for yet that we talked about was some of the pyroclasm stuff. We.
Do you know this card, Steve?
Rich, you leaning towards acidic soil? Isn't that the one that just you tap a land, you get dinged, right? It's like mana barbs.
No, yes, that's exactly what it is. Where'd it go? Didn't I put it in?
You didn't add it, I don't think.
Oh no, it's a one-time shot though.
Oh, it's a one shot.
It's a burn spell. Here it is. Acidic soil. 2 in a red sorcery. Just deals 1 damage to each player for each land they control. So, say like you're playing this and I'm playing like my green sleeves deck, and I just get like 20 balled out of nowhere for ramping so much. Really punishes ramp decks when there are very few things that actually punish ramp in casual play. But also, like, it's just a global burn spell. We're probably going to have about the same amount of lands as they are. So, it's a global burn spell plus, at least 3 probably for Auntie, maybe 10, 15, kill somebody out of the game.
Sounds good.
Seems fun to me. So, definitely worth a consideration there.
So you want to put in some of our pyroclasms that we were talking about?
Oh, sure. Yeah, let me take a look here. What we got? We got Anger of the Gods, right?
Anger of the Gods is
it's kind of the
a 3 ball, right?
Yeah, it's 3 to everything, all creatures, and if they get hit or if they get killed by it, they get exiled instead. So it has that additional utility to it.
Okay, and then are we literally playing pyroclasm?
I mean, I'm fine with it. I think it's great to clean up small board states.
We still got some more slots. We're at 89 currently.
Oh, yeah. I got like 15, 20 cards left that I want to talk about.
Well, yeah, that's where we want to be.
Yeah, and then we'll cut down from there, I think.
I had this other... Did you put it in?
I thought I did. What card was it again?
Pyroclasm?
Sorcery.
Did you type it?
Sorcery? I did. Yeah, right here.
Okay.
It's just it's a portal artwork.
We went portal. That's
I like the Ice Age one because the little guy poking. It's like the fire guy poking his head around the corner. Can we get an Ice Age one here? Oh, I didn't know they had a player reward for that. It's pretty neat.
multiple.
There it is. Oh,
That's oversized.
It's the same artwork. It's just here we go. This is the first printing. Yeah, this is like a little burn.
There's another version that they printed more recently called Volcanic Fallout. I don't know if you've seen this one yet.
Sounds like I think it's like a Scars of Mirrodin card, maybe.
No, it's more recent than that.
Oh, click the other page, but
that's fine.
Spell can't be countered for 3. It deals 2 damage to each creature and each player, and it's an instant.
Yes.
I like an instant.
And then the new hotness when it comes to one-sided red ones is the delayed fire blast, delayed something, delayed blast fireball. I got the words in the wrong order.
This isn't one that I'm too familiar with. Sorcery instant. Looks like it is an instant.
It is an instant. It deals 2 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. If it was cast from exile, 5 to each opponent and each.
Because it has foretell.
It has foretell.
That's pretty cool. I like the versatility of it.
It doesn't whack ourselves, but if we're just, neither does the pyroclasms, right? Like,
yeah, I mean that to me that's a life gain spell effectively because it just keeps them from attacking us a bunch.
Right.
So that's pretty sweet. We're thinking things like we can keep burning them out. Let me see if I have any other burn spells that I was thinking about here. Go ahead and let you drive for a minute here.
All right, I had one more equipment on my list, which was the from New Capenna. Just not finding it on me here.
Huh. You would search Lux. Oh, there it is. It just popped up.
Oh.
Just took a second.
Just struggling.
There it is.
Was Luxior Giada's Gift, which is the one that people were like putting on a Planeswalker. So it's a 1 mana, equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each counter on it. So it just basically effectively doubles her size of what she's gotten for a boost. It equips for 3, which isn't bad. It isn't a Planeswalker and is a creature in addition to its other types, which is really, people are putting on big Planeswalkers and smacking people with it.
Seems
But
pretty sweet.
I think this was just another way to just boost her up. I think you might want to consider, price-wise, do you want to consider an Urza's Saga for this deck? Is that a little too spicy? I mean, because it's going to go get our Commander's Plate, it's going to go get our Luxior. Those are pretty good hits.
I think the Saga is probably fine. Like, you still open it. It's in a recent packs that people opened.
Okay.
And again, if you don't buy one, you just play them out in that slot and you'd be fine. So one of the things, what's he saying over here?
Arc Bond.
Arc Bond, huh? It's just more deal 3 damage to things. I keep doing that.
That's fine. It takes us here.
Yeah. Choose target creature. Whenever that creature is dealt damage this turn, it deals that much damage to each other creature and each player. It's pretty sweet. Is that Fate Reforged there?
So in other words, we could target a creature on our opponent's field, activate Auntie, deal the damage to it, and it reflects back out.
Yes. It's pretty
kind of be what the play pattern would be there.
Yeah, good call, John. It's awesome. Wow, we're gonna have to make a lot of cuts here, I think. So I'm looking at like Slagstorm as another one.
I don't know that one off the top of my head.
Slagstorm this is an old Mirrodin Besieged card, and so it's 3 mana sorcery, deals 3 damage to each creature or 3 damage to each player. Just gives a little versatility where you can burn people or burn creatures, depending on what you need. Basically, it's just a pump spell for Auntie, which is really cool. There's also, what's that triple red one? So I'm not sure if you know this card. It's called Repercussion.
I was talking to you you about this on the other day. Because I always tried to live the dream. Like many people, when Torbjorn came out, I tried to live the mono red dream of just having a Repercussion and then casting a Blasphemous Act. That was like all I wanted to do in the whole world.
Just ruin everybody's life at once.
But turns out nobody lets that happen.
So Repercussion, 1 red enchantment. So it's 3 mana. Whenever a creature is dealt damage, Repercussion deals that much damage to that creature's controller. So anytime we play one of these Earthquake effects, and then also anytime we hit Auntie with any one of our effects, she's going to hit us and then also get all those counters. So as long as she survives. So it'd be I think it's a sweet card. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Good call on the Arc Bond. What do you think about generic red cards and cards like Vandal Blaster by Force? I mean, they're good cards. They're totally reasonable to play. I think with the Punisher aspect, you probably don't have as much time, but we could definitely throw them in the deck and or the board just to, have them as cards that are definitely worth playing in decks like this.
Sure. Plus, if you're just, it plays into the Punisher aspect of just trying to resource denial. Here's this Ankh of Mishra. You ramped a lot. I'm going to blow up all your artifacts. So now, if you want to get back in this game, you're going to have to take damage.
Do we play generic cards like a Braid, or do you think we're not going to need anything like that?
Well, we can talk for a second. What do you think's gonna? What are we afraid of in this?
I think big creatures are going to be a problem for us because
Braid's not taking care of anything that's big.
Yep, I know. But I definitely think big creatures are probably big flyers are going to be tough for us to deal. We do a lot of damage to ground creatures, and we don't have to really worry about wraths because we're not really playing many creatures as it is, and we're kind of the wrath deck at the table, even if they're small wraths. So really, the only thing that I think you majorly have to worry about is a deck that just plays way faster than you. Combo decks would be challenging to deal with. if they can just assemble whatever their pieces parts need to be. But big flyers definitely is going to be the big creatures in general. But the flyer is definitely going to be the hardest because most of our things here don't deal damage to flyers.
All right. So do we want to like think about some single target removal that's more powerful than an abrade or a fire or or a bolt? Something like something that scales more.
I'm trying to think in red what we have for that. I mean, we put the Chaos Warp in here. What's the red one?
Wild Magic Surge.
That's like a straight up just deal with the problem, right?
Right. It destroys something. They go get the next thing that is the same type, basically, off the top of their deck.
Not my favorite, but very very good utility. Like,
I mean, the other things like, well, hard for me not to go back to my childhood and be like spitting earth. Like,
yeah.
Some of the stuff that's like a low mana value with a high ceiling, like the floor on it's really bad. Like 2 mana, deal 2 damage to that creature. That's pretty terrible. But like 2 damage, it's later in the game. You've developed enough resources. You got an 8/8 out there that's a flyer. You got Razakath on the board. You got something, Archon of Cruelty, something I can't deal with.
Oh yeah.
Hey, but if I got enough, something like that takes care of it.
Yeah, or we just we go all snow-covered mountains and play Skred, which is a 1 mana red instant, deal damage equal to the number of. I think there's a couple of them now.
Did they print one?
Is the one in Kaldheim, right?
I think that one was nerfed more than that, though. I think there's like a Frostbite. Probably not. That one's pretty weak.
Frostbite. Yeah, I remember Frostbite.
I think Frostbite was just like 2 mana if it's snow. It was like the shock of Kaldheim.
Let's see here. I don't even see it.
Oh,
there it is. Oh, this is the one I was thinking of. Yeah, so it's just 2, and if you have more snow permanents, it's 3.
Yeah,
so I'd rather just play Bolt over that 100% of the time.
Of course.
But Skred is certainly something that we could consider as like a 1 mana removal spell to kill anything if we play snow-covered mountains. Skred's just deals damage to target creature equal to the number of snow permanents you control. So it could be something we play. I'm not a big fan of it because it's like a 1-for-1. I can tell you that we're at 100 cards before Skred, and we don't have a way to have any kind of card velocity yet. Now, granted, we've added an MDFC and a land here, so your number's a little off. But I mean, I think this is looking pretty awesome so far. I'm pretty pumped to build this deck and play it. I have a bunch of ideas too that
keep hitting me. What else you got?
There's Spell Shock. It's a 3-mana enchantment that whenever a player casts a spell, it deals 2 damage to them.
All right.
I don't know if you want to full punish. I love the Punisher stuff. I think it's actually one word. Spell Shock. I also love the name of it because it's exactly illustrative of.
You cast a spell, you got shocked.
You get shocked, yeah.
I mean it's.
Also, enchantments get hard to remove, and whenever any player casts a spell, it shocks them. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Sure.
Similar to this Pyrostatic
Pillar
here.
We're not storming in this deck by any means.
No, and I can't imagine we're playing tons of spells per turn. That's another thing about this type of strategy. You'll probably play 1, maybe 2 spells a turn.
Sure.
In your development turns, probably put out a couple rocks or whatever, but you're not likely to be like, oh, I'm going to drop Soul's Fire, Price of Progress, Molten Disaster for X's 6 and Thud. It's just not. This is not likely to have that kind of mana, even with all the ramp and stuff. Maybe on a Jessica's Will turn, you can maybe get an extra couple spells out, but.
Perry recommends maybe the MTG that draws cards. I think he's thinking of the Valakut Awakening. That's more like a personal wheel.
I do like Valakut Awakening, though, because sometimes it's just get rid of these junky cards, get these better ones back. And it takes a land slot. Wow, John Perry, I'm going to clap for you, buddy.
MDFCs.
Proud of you recommending an MDFC. Our favorites. Let's see, where did it put it? Probably in sorceries.
Yeah, I think it's a sorcery.
So Valakut Awakening here. On the backside, it's just a tapped red land. And it could also, this also has the utility of being a non-basic land. It'll work with our Burning Earth.
Are we playing the enchantment one? It's more like there's the Valakut enchantment that when you play a land, it exiles a card you can play at this turn, and then if you don't play it, they take damage.
I mean, it's a good card. It's definitely a good way to generate more cards, but it does require you to play a land, which might be a good side or a downside to it.
Yeah, I was just thinking of it's a Punisher card, and it offers some amount of card advantage. It's probably not exactly what we want to do because we're not like, we're trying not to miss land drops for sure. But at the same time, we're not trying to get up to 8, 9, 10 mana. And we're also haven't put anything in here from an explosive standpoint of like a mana geyser or something that's going to produce a bunch of mana that we can dump into one of our X spells or something like that. So I don't know if that's quite there. I do like it from a standpoint of it's 3 instead of a lot of our red kind of impulse draw every turns that are at 4 mana.
Yeah.
But it does require us to have a land, so the floor on it's way lower.
Yeah, I definitely think it's definitely worth considering here as a card, like for card draw. There's actually one that I think is actually really good in this deck that we didn't play. Is come here. Can't remember the actual name of it here.
Endless Atlas.
Endless Atlas. Thank you. Yes. But this is a sweet artifact for us right here. It's just 2 mana artifact, tap 2, tap draw a card if you have 3 or more lands with the same name. So being a monocolor deck. Also the like land spots down here, we could play like War Room. We could play the one that has City's Blessing.
Arch of
Araska. Like those are great. Because lands that draw you cards are better than cards that draw you cards, right?
Right. I mean, well, our basic we do have a lot of basic, non-basic hate in the deck, so I don't think we want to go too hard on that.
We're not destroying them though. We're just playing them.
Right. We're not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I kind of would love to play Ruination in this deck.
I mean, it would be. I mean, we're not blood mooning. You know what I mean? We're not shutting them down. We're just making it hard to play.
Right. You don't want to. But I'm just saying.
Ruination would be pretty sweet.
I mean,
all right. So we'll put Yoko Hops in here. We'll make it really hard now. I mean, do you want me to put Ruination in here? I'll gladly type it up and put it in.
I think you put it in the considering board at least.
It's too good not to even consider. Yeah.
I don't want to tell people not. Depends on what your playgroup's into.
Sure. Yeah.
Depends on what you think is fun. I mean, this is already a Punisher deck. You kind of want to go into this telling people this is what they're in for. So,
just 3 in a red sorcery, destroy all non-basic lands.
For anyone who's not familiar,
so that 5-color play over there is going to be very upset.
So I would throw it in the considering board. Let people make their own decision on that one.
I dig. I think it's really really cool. Let's see here.
Steam Blast.
It's another one of these like Pyroclasm. It's basically Pyroclasm for 1
Oh,
more
I played it.
Yeah.
Another deck that loves these effects, if you've never looked into in red, kind of fun card advantage is Sir Kara the Bold.
Yeah.
Maybe a good one to sideboard here. I put in the considering board. People don't know about this. You can build this as its own deck, which is fun. You can do kind of like a storm effect with it because it's a 5-mana 3/3. It's from everyone's favorite Throne of Eldraine. And then whenever an instant or sorcery you control deals damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. You can play the card this turn. So if you play these like Pyroclasm type effects that hit everybody, you just get massive card advantage. But she's only a 3/3, so you either got to pump her up or keep them low, and you just storm with it. It's fun. I don't think it's the card for this deck.
A wicked neat card, I certainly think. Definitely worth putting in the considering board. Like I said, these aren't meant to be lists that you have to play this list. This is just ideas that we're spitting out so that you can kind of take what we like and what you like and come up with the best deck that works for you.
Right. That's what we're always gonna. Our lists are always gonna be 20, 30 cards over for sure when we brew. Just because that's going to give you all those ideas that you're like, oh, that card's super sweet. I got to have that in my list. We don't want to exclude some of those ideas because we always have plenty of ideas. That's not a problem for us.
Yeah, about 500 decks in the works right now, as far as ideas are considered. Let me just take a peek through the little bit more that I had here. I had Cosmos Elixir. Do you know this one?
Isn't it a life gain? If you gain life, you draw cards. If you don't, you get you.
It kind of gives
one
you
or the other, or something like that.
Gives you the option, I think.
I think it's in my life gain deck.
Cosmos Elixir, 4-mana artifact. Begin your end step. Draw a card if your life total is greater than your starting life total. Otherwise, you gain 2. So we may, with all the lifelink effects, actually have a greater life total, which means we would draw a card, and if not, we would gain 2 life. Now, it's a pretty weak effect, but if you were looking to lean into the life gain aspect of it and just try to burn everybody out, this seems like a fine card to me.
Yeah, I would definitely want to see how the deck plays. I'd want to like goldfish it and find out like, hey, how reliably am I getting these lifelink effects? Where do I usually end up life total wise? Where does everybody else kind of end up? It's a sweet card. I love it. I think when that card came out, I was like, oh man, now I really got to build life gain, and thus mono white life gain for me was born from that card pretty much.
Yeah, you love the life gain deck.
I do. I played mono white Daxos. Love having a bad Soul Sister in the command zone. Wizards, go ahead and print me a real one, please. 2, 3 mana, maybe even 4. I'd probably still play it.
Do you know this card, Dingus Staff?
I definitely have a Dingus Staff in my collection.
So I think that not enough people know about Dingus Staff, because if they did, they would understand that this is similar to a Bloodrust effect in any color. So whenever a creature is put into any graveyard from play, it deals 2 damage to that creature's controller, which includes us as well. We're not planning to lose too many of our creatures here, being that there's only a couple of them and they're very big.
Yeah.
But this could literally just be like, just play it and kill your opponent when you Earthquake the next turn. Like, I don't know if it's right for the deck, but it's certainly a card I would love to. Like, this to me is another just great Punisher card that's worth thinking about.
Sure.
I don't know if you want to. 4 mana is a lot too for it. It's kind of an old Weatherlight card here.
Yeah, I understand.
But there's a lot of like. I just have like a pile of just junky cards like I just love, like Paradise Plume. It's just another mana rock for 4 that gains life when you cast spells of that color. And let's see, Sulphurous Blast was another one that I had here that I was thinking about. It's basically like a 4 mana Pyroclasm effect, but it can deal 3 if you cast it in your main phase. It is an instant. It's a pretty neat little card, I think. Sulphurous Blast.
Sulphurous Blast.
So 2 red instant, deals 2 damage to each creature and each player. So it's good for us in that way. If you cast it during your main phase, it deals 3 damage to each creature and player instead.
Okay.
So the downside to this is if the Auntie doesn't already have some kind of protection or at least 1 counter, it's a good chance it just kills her. So we'd have to be careful on that. But
yeah, that one's
once
not.
Once Auntie,
4 mana?
It is 4 mana, yeah. But I mean, when I think about that versus like what's Molten Disaster going to cost me, they're fairly similar. But definitely a card that like could save you if you needed to. But it might cost you really a lot too. So I think it's worth like a consideration. Like if you had one and you had a hard time finding one of these like Molten Disasters, one of these older ones like Slagstorm, it'd be a fine card to play in its spot.
Sure, I'm sure there's more Pyroclasms that are at a different CMC than we're talking about.
There's so many.
Probably if you go up to like 4 mana, 5 mana.
Oh, this is so. When I was thinking about the deck, I was thinking about lots of life gain and card draw. So I don't think I spelled it. Well, I did. So Alamar's Archive is a neat one. You're not going to get too much card draw in red. It says it's a 5-mana legendary artifact. If you gain life, gain twice that much life. And it says if you would draw a card, except the first one in each of your draw steps, draw 2 instead.
I have thoroughly enjoyed Alamar's Archive, but I usually play it in a deck that's like cantripping a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know how often it's going to trigger for us because even we definitely need to put more draw effects in this list.
Yeah, I think so too.
I 100% believe that, and that's kind of like more. I think we're going to probably end up with a lot of the impulse draw effects too, which is not going to trigger it.
I think you're right. This is probably like I said, when I was thinking about the deck, I had put in like 20 different cards that gain incremental life, like one that gains life begin your upkeep, ones that gain life whenever a creature enters, kind of thing, that kind of stuff. So
okay, I
definitely think it's totally fine to just take it out of the list though. Like we're not drawing cards, so we're only getting half the value out of it. It's an expensive artifact, and we do want to get some card velocity here though.
Like I'm fine with like a light up the stage.
Yeah, I mean it's 1 mana, draw 2 basically. we're pretty much always going to trigger it.
You know, if we're gonna just you know, as much as the bigger effects are splashier, Spectacle seems the most achievable thing in the world in this deck.
Yeah, it's pretty easy in this particular version.
What else did you have for stuff? Did you want to play? You know, we got the new 4-mana Impulse with Visions of Phyrexia. We got the old one with
can't remember what this card is. Sorry.
Flame Break. What you got?
I wrote it down, but I can't remember what it does.
Triple red.
Oh, it's a triple red. Deals 3 damage to each creature without flying and each player, and then creatures dealt damage that way can't be regenerated. It's just another pyroclasm type effect.
Yeah, leave it in there for now because we're gonna probably go through and decide what we're cutting out of there. Maybe we choose to stick with that one instead of something else like a Slag Storm or whatever.
To me, 3 damage is like a sweet spot too because like one, it doesn't hit flyers, so that means we're good there. This also hits all the players too, so we'll be able to like deal ourselves damage, make Auntie bigger, which is sweet.
Yeah.
But the thing I like about 3 damage versus 2 is like you see Beast Within a lot, you see Generous Gift a lot, Rapid Hybridization, Pongify. Those leave 3/3s behind.
Right.
Even one of my favorite decks, Green Sleeves, it makes 3/3s. You know.
Sure.
So 3 is a pretty high toughness. For like a 3-mana effect to just wrath all of them, which I love, and I think that's really awesome. Let's see, if for card velocity here, let's see, I had a excuse me.
Did you do the enchantments? Were you talking about here?
I have Maze Mind Tome. Oh, you're typing in here. Gotcha.
This was one that at least I want to throw in the considering board. Was down here in the enchantments, Visions of Phyrexia. It's your Outpost Siege. You know, beginning your upkeep, exile top card of library you can play at this turn. This one has the upside at the beginning of your end step. If you didn't play a card from exile, create a tapped Power Stone.
Which I recently learned are not as good as I thought they were.
Yeah, Power Stones aren't spectacular.
So it turns out that Power Stones, for people who don't read the reminder text, because I didn't this time, they don't make mana for non-artifact spells. So like our
currently we're at 23 artifacts.
We'll be good with the artifacts for sure.
So it's not as terrible.
I definitely like the card though. I like the fact that it has a like an impulse drawn at every turn, which is sweet. Similar to the Outpost Siege and Pirate one that I can never remember the name of.
So Outpost Siege is another one that we'll put in here. Whether we put it in the maybe board or not. It's everywhere. You know it. You love it. It's 4 mana, Cons of Dragons. You get to exile at the beginning of your turn. You can play that card. Or you can do when a creature you control leaves the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to any target for dragons. Not the most common pick, but in some decks, it can do some crazy stuff. Do you want to just throw both of these into considering? Are they not good enough?
I honestly think they're both good enough for the main deck.
Okay.
So one of the things that, it's hard to play those kind of cards because they don't get you anything right away because they could just get destroyed. And one of the things that I do like about this quote-unquote Punisher style is because we have so many artifacts that are important or so many enchantments that are important, people aren't going to be likely to blow up your Outpost Siege or your Visions of Phyrexia at that point because there's just too many other pressing things that are actually threatening them, like Repercussion and like Spell Shock and what have you. So they gain a bit more value in a deck like this because it's likely they'll stick around a lot longer.
Makes sense.
So that's definitely something I love. One of the cards I was considering for card draw was Maze Mind Tome. This card is nice because it has I wouldn't call it card draw exactly. I mean, it does draw cards, right? Yeah. But it doesn't last forever, but it does give you some life buff. It bolsters your life a bit. Excuse me, sorry about that. Bolsters your life a little. Did it not go?
Yeah, that's over here. It's right here.
Oh, I couldn't. Give it that old frame. Mine doesn't have
Yeah.
So it's 2-mana artifact. You tap to put a charge counter on it. Or Amazement. Page counter. I keep changing the names of these things. It lets you scry 1. You tap 2 and tap it to put a page counter on it and draw a card. And then it says when there's 4 or more counters on it, you just exile it and you gain 4 life. So one of the neat things, you could scry a bunch of times. You could draw some cards. It just gives you some versatility with the leftover mana from all these rocks and stuff that we're going to have.
We play the artifact that draws cards when you attack with your commander.
I don't know that one. What's it called? Artifact that
So it comes in with a certain amount of counters on it. Whenever you attack with your commander, you get to put a counter on it. You tap it to remove a counter and draw a card. It's looks like a cube in the art, and I'm trying to... Is it another tome?
It's going to be a Scryfall one. Let's see here.
I definitely always played in like a Voltron build, so we've got commander, sure. It's an artifact, so we can throw colorless on there. Oh, you already hit commander.
I didn't mean to.
Okay.
Got that, everybody? Commander draw, right?
Sure, and you can go colorless right here. Tome of Legends.
When it enters the battlefield with a page counter, whenever your commander enters the battlefield or attacks, put a page counter on it. Then you can tap one tap to remove a page counter, draw a card. I mean, we're looking to attack with this commander for sure, I think.
Is that a reasonable include, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly dig it. It gets counters on it, and then you're able to use it once a turn to draw an extra card. Seems fine to me. It's kind of like a personal Howling Mine. And that was Tome of Legends. It's definitely worth putting in there. What we got over here?
War Room. Also,
yeah, 100%.
Also a good include.
100% on War Room there. That card's amazing. And I mean, personally, to me, like the fact that we want Auntie to be able to trigger anytime we take damage from ourselves, more non-basic lands might be helpful with the Burning Earth, which is right here. So it's whenever a player taps a non-basic land for mana. So if we tap this to draw a card, we're only paying one. We're going to lose a life to it for our commander. And then if we tap it for mana, we lose a life with Burning Earth out, which is kind of nice.
So while we're on the subject, are we putting pain lands in here to hurt ourselves intentionally, or is that taking it a step too far?
I think we have plenty of ways to hurt ourselves. I don't think our mana base needs to be one of them, but
okay.
I can definitely make an argument for like really good utility lands that could potentially hurt us because of.
Well, I meant more like, are we putting an ancient tomb in here? Are we putting a city of brass for no reason?
I don't think
are we doing the Darien thing?
I don't think
doing the Darien King.
I don't
of
think
Keldor?
you need to lean that hard in. Like I said, we're going to be dealing a lot of damage to ourselves all kinds of ways. And I'd hate to like not be able to Pyrohemia because our lands are hurting us now.
Sure.
So like we're all going to be taking a bunch from like Anka Mishra lands just entering hurt us and stuff like that. So I don't think we need to go that deep, but I do think that like because we're a monocolored deck, it's very easy to have a lot of really good utility lands. I like I said, it's not a great card, but I really like the Arch of Orazka just to draw cards with if we need it. Because lands that draw cards are amazing in my opinion. Because you don't have to work for them, you just play them, and then you have it there when you need it.
Are we gonna have the blessing?
All right, so to have Arch of Orazka be able to activate, you need like 6 cards already on the field, basically 5 things that produce mana and tap it. So it's generally very easy because this is a very late game kind of card.
Okay.
And like I said, in the early game, if we get this Burning Earth out or one of the other ones that tap mana barbs, like it's still going to hurt us as we need it to continue triggering the Auntie.
Speaking of late game lands, Perry just mentioned Valakut the Molten Pinnacle, I believe is the one he's looking for.
I mean, it's definitely doable. It's a lot harder, but especially the more non-basics you put in, the harder it is to trigger Valakut.
Right. Like, I'm a big Valakut fan in a landfall deck. You go Gruul Landfall, you got the Omnath, you're really going to just blow people hard with that one. Just blow them out. And then... But at the same time...
Just hard blowing.
Blow them out hard. but when you scape shift and you do the whole modern thing, but I don't know that it's necessarily where you want to be here. I would maybe put it in the considering board.
I think it is a totally fine card to play. The only downside that it really has for me is that because you're playing on red, you do not want to miss your land drop, and basically that counts as missing it because it enters tapped.
Yeah.
This is one of the monocolor decks, the strength you get in a monocolor deck, and I do think it's worth considering. It's a sweet card, and if you got one, stick it in your deck. It's just free, basically. But when you're thinking about trying to optimize I definitely think one of the things that you want to consider is that, like, you're weaker because you're in a monocolor deck, which means you don't get the cool gold cards and all those neat things like that. But your strength comes from the fact that your lands enter untapped, so you basically get to play on curve the whole game, or even above curve with mana rocks.
Right.
So it's one of the reasons that I don't like the tapped mana rocks as much, because you kind of like take that turn off. You know, it's great when you can just be like, okay, I'm going to play a turn 1 land into Soul Ring, and then you maybe get one of these things out. Or just land, then next turn. Land, play Arcane Signet, then drop another 1 mana artifact, you know? Like, that's really powerful to be able to do those multi-spells in the early turns, but a single tap land will just throw your entire first few turns out of it. Makes your mulligans harder, stuff like that, so...
So what are we kind of at? Where are we numbers-wise on some card advantage here?
It doesn't look like much. It looks like the
Jessica's Will in theory can be,
Yeah,
can be light up the stage. Sure, there's 2.
Yeah, those are ones that are more like it's hard to call it card advantage, more like velocity to me.
Yeah, velocity. Sure.
Just because
I like that
we're not going to be holding a lot of cards a lot of time, especially if we're going to be impulsing. So we have those 2. The Wheel of Misfortune is definitely doable because we're going to want to take damage.
Sure.
And we're getting life, so that's definitely 3 cards right there.
And then
let's see, there was a couple of we have the Tome of Legends that you suggested, which is really sweet. You can also like cantrip off these.
The Maze Mind Tome, that's 5.
Yeah, then you have
Outpost Siege is 6.
Yeah, Visions of Phyrexia
is 7.
Yeah, so and then a couple of lands that'll do it for you too.
Do you think we're there? Do we need to dig a little deeper for anything there?
I think our answers are going to be very few to many things. So definitely worth maybe trying to add a couple more things that let us get to where we're going.
Okay.
It's going to be frustrating when we get like one of these Punisher cards, but we're just losing to it too fast because we're not able to really gain the life or move forward with it.
All right. Speaking of that, so here we are. Like time wise, we definitely wanted to cut our stream down time wise to something more. So I think we kind of want to try and wrap this up here shortly. We kind of want to go more towards the hour and a half realm with the stream. So we got any last kind of ads before we go into the cut mode?
We had talked about Descent of Avernus several times and didn't add it to the list yet because this card is hilarious.
I think it's Descent to Avernus.
Descent to Avernus.
I think Descent will get you there.
Probably. Into
Avernus. Neither of us are correct.
So this is a really this is a real neat one for this deck, and a card that I likely in most decks would never play because I don't like giving my opponents free resources. But it says, 2 red enchantment, beginning of your upkeep, put 2 Descent counters onto it. Then each player creates X treasure tokens, and then Descent deals that much damage to each player, where X is the number of Descent counters on it. Very, very powerful effect, can kind of ramp us, can deal lots of damage all around. Super Punisher card, but then people want to keep it out there because they're getting treasures off of it.
Right.
And then we're just like, all right, play your things. They drop a bunch of dinky things. We're just like, earthquake them away.
So I'm thinking like, okay, 2-3 mana, you play it out, nothing happens, right? So then it's going to come back around to your upkeep. It gets the first 2. You get the first treasures. So I like that because you get to take advantage of it first. You take the 2 damage. So then the table goes around 2-2-2. The next turn, 4 treasures, right? Yeah, because
the only trigger's on your upkeep, so they're going to take damage on your turn as well. So even if they let you get 1 trigger off of it, we're going to get 2 treasures, and everybody's going to take 2. So it's going to deal 8 right out of the gate.
Oh, okay, that's better.
It only triggers on our upkeep. It doesn't trigger on each player's upkeep. Yeah.
No, I thought it was only going to hit us. Gotcha. Okay, all right.
Yeah, it deals X damage to each player with X number of Descent counters on it. That said, it will end a game very quickly, especially if it's a late game card.
That's where we're trying to go. We're trying to get this big ding everybody down.
I mean, I do think that there should be, at least when we build this deck, that we should have a card or token or a beat up bad auntie that has a suicide counter on it for how many times we kill ourselves with the deck, because it's likely to happen with how much damage gets thrown around. I just want to make sure that there's nothing else that I wanted to cover. Price of Glory, whenever a player taps a land for mana during another player's turn, destroy it. That's maybe a little too punishing. Maybe we don't need that. I don't think I have any more as far as card velocity or card advantage would be considered here. Just check it last, and no, I don't. So, Barbarian Ring. another pain land, right? But it has some utility. So I definitely think we're at the space where we can figure out the number of lands we want to play now. and then make our cuts as needed.
Sounds good.
Any other suggestions from chat here before we get moving forward? Doesn't look like it. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so take a look at the curve first, I think. This is a lovely curve. I like this already.
That is
very heavy in the 2s and very heavy in the 3s, as many casual commander decks tend to be.
Total mana value of the deck is 200.
Yeah. And then our main deck with and without lands is under 3. So
yep, still very on par with the deck that you and I would build. Although your earthquakes and your fault lines aren't really representing where they're going to be in your curve.
Yes, that's true.
Right.
They
So that's
say here
gonna-
2s and 3s. Generally, when I list them, they're kind of up here because that's what you really want to do them for a lot of the time. But
Right, just something to keep in mind when you're looking at a statistic like this on Moxfield. That's not representative of truly. And they do have a feature. I don't know if you've known this. You can change the mana value of a card.
Didn't know that.
So you can go to something like an earthquake and assign it a mana value within your curve that's different.
Alrighty, so like I often like to consider Walking Ballista as a 2-drop when I build decks on the table.
Sure.
So I'd be able to actually change it here on Moxfield.
Yeah, it's
That's
a
really
great tool because
It's a cool feature.
you can kind of set it at. I'd probably set it at my floor. Rich and I like to talk a lot about floor to ceiling
It's my
in
jam.
terms of where a card is its worst and its best. So you say like, okay, you take a card like Earthquake and say, okay, what's the worst I ever want to cast Earthquake for, right? Like, is it 1? Is it X is 1? Is it 2 mana? Or most of the time you're going to want to be 4 or 5. So you can assign it that value and look at it in the curve there. So right now we said we wanted to go to lands first, right? We want to make our cuts on land quantities. Now that we looked at the curve.
No, we've done that. I do want to just for my posterity here, I'm going to put it in as a considering card, but just one of my all-time favorite red cards that kind of fits the style of this deck.
Sure.
It's called Bonfire of the Damned. It's from Avacyn Restored. This card was once like $50 in Standard, and you played 4 of them in your deck. Again, like I said, if somebody had one in their collection, they really wanted to play it, this would be a fine deck to put it in.
Okay. What you got?
Right here. So Bonfire of the Damned is XX red, deals X damage to target player and each creature they control, and you can miracle it for 1 less X. So if you just like rip it off the top, you could just like slam it. It makes the draw step really exciting too.
All right.
So it's definitely it doesn't work off the impulse draws. So just remember that it says when you draw it, if it's the first card you drew for the turn. So even if you cantrip onto somebody, like if you're cantrip against somebody else's turn for any reason, and you draw it, it's great. But if you impulse it, it won't work.
Gotcha.
For the miracle cost. Either way, you can still use it as like a 5 mana, deal 2 to them and everything they control. If one player's getting really out of control and you just need to kind of clean up their tokens or what have you, that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna, like I said, not in the main deck here, but
Okay.
definitely like if I was cruising and I found this list and saw that I considered, I'd be like, all right, yeah, that's sweet.
All right. Fair enough. Put it in there.
So with having like a fairly low curve, I don't think 40 lands is what we're looking at right now.
No.
Probably somewhere in the 34 to 36 likely.
Sure.
I tend to, especially with MDFCs, I tend to lean a little bit on the higher side, just because I kind of treat them like a half a land. Because I use them in my land slots, I don't use my deck slots for them.
All right. So what do you want to go down to? We're at 38 traditional lands, 40 with MDFCs. Do we want to go down to 35?
I would say with the X spells and the fact that you don't want to miss, I would say 36 is probably
All right.
like a just for that. We have a lot of heavy costed enchantments and stuff like that.
All right. So let's cut 2 mountains out here.
Yeah, we'll cut 2 mountains and then we'll kind of review. Remove 1. And remove 1, and then we can kind of go over maybe some other utility lands we might want to add, some other things. Or if we want to keep the utility lands at kind of a minimum here.
Yeah, I was fine with that being all the ones I needed in this world. But if you've got something else in your mind, lay it on me. What are you thinking?
I mean, I love utility lands just because they just let you play more Magic than a mountain would. Mountains are great. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
They don't hurt. They're pretty spectacular. I had just a couple on my list here. Inventor's Fair is a really good one.
Sure.
Not only does it gain life with our 25 artifacts now, 1 of every 4 cards, but also just being able to tutor up a key piece like a Shadow Spear or...
You want me to drive for a second while you come up with that list?
Sure, yeah, you drive.
All right. So you went at Inventors Fair. And then in the same vein, were you thinking, what was the other one I just had in mind? So we'll take out a mountain for that.
Witch's Clinic is the next one I was thinking. This is a land that it's a colorless land, but it lets you tap it and 2 mana to give a creature lifelink. And with our commander, that's just our target commander gains lifelink until end of turn.
That's pretty sweet.
So that's really good in this deck. And then let's see the last ones I had.
Do you want a Rogue's Passage?
Nah, she flies. I don't think I'm that worried about it. The other things are big giant things that are gonna get through. Plus, we're clearing the ground anyway of all the. So I had Radiant Fountain. It's just a land that enters and gains 2 life, but I don't think it's necessary.
I'm gonna throw the Rogue's Passage in the considering board for everybody else.
Alrighty. Ancient Tomb, by the way, is I think a fine considering card. I actually think that one fits more of a more powerful build. It does deal 2 to you, which is sweet. You can cast your commander on turn 1 if you have a Swimming Spirit Guide with it, which is hilarious. But I definitely think like if somebody wanted to power this up also, that might be a really good add to the deck.
Sure.
And I'd like to put Radiant Fountain in the considering board. As it is just a land that enters, it gains 2 life. So if you like the life gain aspect of the deck, you maybe want to play some longer games than we're looking to play, then it would be a really fine add of just, free 2 life. Works really well with your Burning Earth combo of like trying to hurt yourself. And that's all the land. Oh, Barbarian Ring was the only other land I had, which is
that the storage land?
No, it's a tap to add a red. It's a pain land. It's a monocolored pain land. You tap to add a red and ding yourself. But then it has the ability where if you have Threshold, you can tap a red, tap it, sack it, and then shock something. So it just gives your lands a little more utility. Yeah, like I said, I don't think it's main deckable. I don't think it's what we want for our list, but it might be great for somebody else's.
Okay.
So I honestly think this looks pretty sweet. 30 mountains is a nice round number. Basically, opening hand, you'll probably get maybe 2 to 3 of those. And nice enchantments here that people are going to have to really deal with. So we just got 9 cards to cut, it looks like.
That seems very doable.
Very doable, considering our last one was, like 30 cards? All right.
Anything that kind of jumps off the page as we've been scrolling back and forth that's maybe not quite as powerful as you want it to be?
Cursed Mirror looks a little weaker. Just the fact that it's a colored mana rock, it costs 3, and we're looking to pretty much keep their battlefield clear. Right. It is a good card. I'm not going to say it's not. It's a pretty fantastic ability. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, but like you said, more when there's boom booms you want to throw down and copy, some big nasty thing.
Pyrostatic Pillar is kind of weak. Citadel of Pain is very weak. Pyrostatic Pillar kind of, the role we have for that is Spell Shock kind of fills that role for us.
All right, you want to consider that out?
Yeah, we can probably consider that. I don't know what you think.
Citadel of Pain as well, you said?
Citadel of Pain is not guaranteed. It's definitely something that your opponents can play around very easily, so I don't think it's like... To me, it's a Punisher card because if you're trying to hold up mana on somebody's turn, then it hurts you. But, how often do you need to do that in Commander, especially in a more casual game line?
Anything else here?
I have both Vandal Blast and Bifrost in here. I think one or the other is probably where you'd want to go. I don't think you need that many of that effect. But maybe you do want that,
Yeah, I mean, the floor, here we go, floor to ceiling again. The floor on Bifrost, you want to get 1 artifact, you're paying 2 mana for it. The floor on Vandal Blast, you want to get 1 artifact, you're paying 1 for it.
Yeah.
Right? But the floor on, the overload on Vandal Blast is 5 and everybody else is gone. This, if you're paying 5, you're only hitting 4 artifacts. Do you think there's going to be more targets out there than that? This is kind of a good comparison to talk about those 2 cards.
So my only argument for Vandal Blast over Bifrost, and that I do think that mana cost wise they're very similar. They do similar effect, but the Vandal Blast gets around like targeting because it changes to each when you overload. So that just has like an initial ability that like if something has hexproof or shroud, you can actually blow it up with Vandal Blast where you can't get it with Bifrost.
All right, so we'll pull that one.
I think one of that effect is likely all we'd really need. I don't know if you want to throw like a gamble in here just to like we really need a card, but I don't think that's what we're doing. I think this is just draw, play the game, have fun. This is more casual. What are you seeing here?
Is there any particular one of our
I mean, like
one of our kind of pyroclasm effects we want to cut? Are we kind of happy? Where are we at with number of those? We got 1 here, 2, 3, 4 pyroclasms, 5 with the delayed fireball, 6 here. That's probably okay, but 6 might be. Do you think 6 is too high?
I mean, do I think it's too high? No.
Okay.
Do I think that we might be stuck with a bunch of those effects in our hands? Probably. You know, like once we do 1 or 2, people might be like hesitant to play their smaller things or wait for the bigger stuff. So
Slagstorm is more flexible and then it goes both ways, but it is sorcery speed.
Sorcery speed doesn't bother me as much for those type of effects because that's pretty much what this deck is revolving around for Auntie. What things that I would consider would be like the Pyroclasm is good because it's 2 mana to deal 2 damage to everything. Slagstorm is fine, 3 for 3. Flamebreak is 3 for 3. Molten Disaster is kind of like an earthquake effect that could potentially cost more, so that might be a downside to it. If it's something that costs 3 mana and only deals like 2, it might not be as good. So something like where was it there? Like the Volcanic Fallout is pretty solid. Also, it could kill Auntie because it deals it to each creature.
All right,
so that might be a considering card.
Yeah, let's throw that one back into considering.
Like, definitely don't want to kill Auntie if we can help it. I don't know if Fling is main deckable here. Like, I mean, it's good. It is main deckable. Let's be straight here. It's a very, very powerful card with the effect of Commander. But to, like, how many of that effect do we need? We already have an MDFC doing it for us.
Well, if you're gonna cut 1, you cut Thud, not Fling.
I mean, yeah, I think so. That's what I'm asking. Like, do we want to leave those effects in? We do have 4 more cuts to make. That could cut 2 cards out and just leave the Kazul's Fury as like a freebie. You know what I mean?
Well, we also have this one, which does not sack it.
I think that's even better then. So yeah, I'd be happy taking Thud and Fling, and like if that's a strategy you enjoy, where you like throwing the creature at people, that might be better for them.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Also, and this is a sincere concern I have, but like, people are going to try to kill the Auntie. I would point all my removal at that thing, you know, because it's going to be a huge threat very quickly. What about these creatures we got up here? We got 2 more cuts to make. I think the Incinerator is just bonkers. I don't think I want to cut that. Hidetsugu is also amazing. John's idea of the Empyrean seems really, really sweet because we could it's basically a life gain card. I love the Scavenged Brawler there. I think it just has so many keywords that seem cool.
Is the duo too much win more?
If a source would deal damage to an opponent, it deals. It might be. You know, it deals. The source deals double the damage though. So if like Auntie's 11, which isn't that hard, it would just kill them with commander damage because she'll deal double that damage.
Right. That's probably stronger than the Brash Tawner Stuffy Dolls? Do you want to maybe cut the Stuffy Doll? Brash Tawner seems better than Stuffy Doll.
I mean, I think they're both pretty similar. So, you know, either or neither is fine for me. They are kind of heavy costed and they don't do anything right away. So you kind of have to like untap with them after you cast them.
I'll probably say let's throw Stuffy back at least because it dives to both creature removal and artifact removal, and we can't change the target where we want to apply the damage. Brash Tawner is way stronger in that regards, and it's just a goblin. You love goblins.
I do love goblins. I mean, the weakest card on the table right now or on the screen looks like Flame Rift. Just deals 4 to everybody. It doesn't do anything else. I mean, it is basically like a combat trick, but I mean, I love
sorcery speed.
It is sorcery speed, so it's a slow trick, and like Kedis to me is probably just like a better sorcery speed type trick where you're just like play this thing for 2 mana, get you're all dead, or get you that guy's dead, you know. So any one of these like burn spells that doesn't really do much, like Flame Rift or Acidic Soil. I mean, Acidic Soil is very powerful in my opinion, but
all right, well that brings us to 100.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like a pretty squareless. Let's take a look at the curve again, just to make sure that there's nothing like
let's see what that
weird outliers or anything like that we may have missed. Plus, look at the wonderful list of considering cards. So we're low in the 5, high in the 6. That seems about right with how powerful those 6 drops are. The 1/8 drop seems reasonable. How many 4s are we looking at? 5. That's nothing. Is that just permanence though? Are we only looking at permanence for our
Click a bar to view the cards.
I see. Okay. Heavy on the 3s. But those are really good 3s, a lot of those. Yeah, I think this looks sweet.
Looks great.
Looks great to me. I'm excited to try to sleeve it up and see if we can really, really bother our friends with it.
I think there's totally some, I think one last thing I'd probably look at before we probably wrap it up here is talk about some budget alternatives to a couple of cards on this list.
Sure, yeah.
So I don't remember. I know that it exists in here, and I apologize for not having it at ready. But there's definitely a way you can look at these cards from a cost perspective, and kind of see where your heavy hitters are.
Sure.
Like Jessica's Will's up here at almost $20. I think something like a Mana Geyser there is probably fine. Some other sort of ritual like
Mana
that.
Geyser, even like a Seething Song would do a very similar role.
Sure. Just something that just kind of give you a burst of mana. I think, Vandal Blast could also be one of those.
You just play by force over that one, and you'll still be fine in most situations.
Sure. I mean, I think,
let's see. There's a new hotness up there. There's a delayed blast.
Yeah, it's up at like $10. That's totally removable for another Pyroclasm type effect.
I think here in the artifacts, the Commander's Plate's a more expensive one.
Yeah, Commander's Plate's up here at $20. I think
if you're just looking to protect your commander, you could play like.
You want to go to Darksteel Plate sort of deal. You could go to there. That would be fine.
There's a equipment that gives hexproof. It's like Avacyn's Mask or something, and that's a fine play to protect your commander with. Luxior, I think, is probably a little bit, right? Maybe not. I know Greaves is still moving up there. It's like $10, $11.
$7.
Yeah, that's more than reasonable. And
it's not terrible.
Repercussion is an expensive card, though. I know that.
$20.
This is an old card, so I mean, you could definitely just play anything.
Oh, we had other Punisher enchantments that could slot right in there.
Well, Pyrohemia is. I think it's kind of like a marquee card of the deck you wouldn't want to take out. You don't need to play Inventor's Fair, Urza Saga, or Witch's Clinic, which I think is up there quite a bit.
Yeah,
too.
I mean those could just be mountains. So those are just something that if we can have time to run through, tell people. I mean if you just cut, you do those 10 cards. This is probably a sub $200 deck.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's a lot of like big money cards, single big like Urza Saga's about like $40-$50 or something. Yeah, $43. That'll bump you down to under $400 already. And if you start taking out some of the bigger money cards, Auntie itself will probably go down too as more packs get opened.
Sure,
she's up to like $14.
Sure.
Hidetsugu is Platinum Imperion, easy cut. If you don't have it, don't want it, play it. Even save yourself $16 there. Worm Coil is definitely one of those cards that's just it's expensive because it's good. It's a great card if you have it, play it. If you don't want to play it, then. I think the Scavenge Brawler is like cheap. It's like $1, right? So,
right. I think we had some of these like the Swines 25 cents. Sure. Stuffy Dolls $1.
Yeah, and you can definitely lean into like, I would prefer more equipment and make her more Voltron-y. That's totally reasonable to do. You could play some more burn spells if you want to try to like. I'm just like dying to play a burn deck in Commander because it's so hard to do, and Flame Rift is such a good card for that. Or you put the Curse Mirror back in. That's just a sweet card. Oh, they have one big thing, and now I can copy it.
Sure, those all seem reasonable. So
definitely, looking at the considering board, there's a lot of sub things that you can do to save money and or change the strategy a little bit.
All right, I think we probably also got some like foiled out cards that don't need to be foiled. Some defaults that happen to us here with the way Moxfield is designed. So
yeah, I mean, like Ruby Medallion is a very expensive ramp card.
Sure, I mean,
easy to not play. You could put in like what's the Hazret's Monument. It does a similar thing for your creatures. I mean, not that we're playing that many creatures, but
sure,
depending on your look.
Throw insert 2 mana rock here. Yeah. Throw your Fire Diamond in there. Sure.
Shadow's Spear really expensive too. There.
Yeah.
As far as like more than $20 a card.
Right. We're not necessarily looking to build this from a budget standpoint or anything, but I think it's just worth a quick mention if we feel like we've got an extra few minutes at the end of the stream to throw some ideas. Well, I think you got anything else? I think that's good for you?
No, this is a real bad auntie. She's going to burn the world down. I can't wait.
For sure. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for checking in with us. Have a good night. And take it easy, and we'll be back for the next brew. Check us out Mondays at 8:30. For now, that's going to be our time slot, and thanks for joining us. Appreciate joining us for the brew.
Yeah, have a good night.